I have told yesterday. Ananya also is similar. Ananya has entered the classroom. Okay, yesterday I was telling you the story of sand casting, aluminium casting of a ring. It was 600 diameter, 600 ID, 620 OD, 10 millimeter thickness. We completed our first trials, sent the ring to Canada for approval. They approved it, and then we were ready for production. And then we automized the system of manufacturing, and we got the ring from the same mold. We got the ring whose internal diameter was 610 and outer diameter was 630. See, there is some shrinkage while cooling this molten aluminum. When you are pouring, it slowly cold, I mean room temperature. Eventually it will achieve room temperature slowly, and during that process there is a shrinkage. So that shrinkage percentage is taken care in the beginning, and that is how the mold design is being done. You are required to make a bigger mold considering the shrinkage. Otherwise, if you create a mold of that is required, your eventual ring will be smaller than that. So literature is available, how much shrinkage molten aluminum will have, etc. So using those you have to design your mold, and using the same mold we were getting the required dimension 600 by 610. Okay, but the moment we automized the process, the ring size became bigger, and then we were in trouble. What do we do? It is the same mold, it is the same machine, it is the same molten metal. All the workers are same. Every parameter we checked. Why is the dimension of the ring greater by 10 millimeters? And then we realized, so that is what is multivariable calculus. We wanted a ring of specific dimensions, and that ring was affected by so many variables which you cannot anticipate also sometimes, which variable is operating on that and is responsible for change in dimension. So after a lot of study, we realized that the after pouring the molten aluminum in the die, that is mold, if you eject the ring before 1 minute, then the dimensions are big. After so many trials, we arrived at that time, 1 minute. After molten metal is poured, you have to stop all the operations, nothing doing. Let the molten aluminum start getting colder and colder. Heat is dissipated in the atmosphere, and optimum time we could find out was 1 minute. Unless and until we keep that ring in the mold for 1 minute as it is without doing anything, if we remove it earlier than 1 minute, the dimensions were not available. But if we keep it in the mold for 1 minute, the dimensions we could get same as earlier. So what was the parameter, what was the independent variable which was operating on the size of the ring? The duration of the ring inside the mold before taking it out, after pouring. That time was important. And I mean, it was 2 o'clock in the night when we realized that this is the important criteria that we need to maintain. We have kept one big watch inside the foundry and asked all the workers, once the pouring is complete, you are not supposed to do anything for 1 minute, just wait. Complete the एक तो मिनिट काटा जो है तो एक अख्खा राउंड मारेपर्यंत थांबून राहायचं, काही करायचं नाही. And once the 1 minute is over, you start taking out the ring out of that mold, and then we got all the dimensions. So what I am trying to tell you is, apart from many other, I mean, there is so many variables. Molten aluminum, quality of molten aluminum, who is pouring, It is a manual process. Pouring that molten metal into the mold is a manual process. Person X will pour it in say 30 seconds. Person B will pour it in 40 seconds. It will change the quality of the ring. So many variables are acting in real life. If you are an engineer, if you are doing some research, you have to be very, very analytical in figuring out which specific variable is to be controlled so that you get the desired quality. So we wanted a dimension of the ring in millimeters to be controlled, and we worked on the time of the molten metal inside the mold. So it is not necessary that the unit of measure will be same. Dimension control करायचे तर dimensions control करायला लागणार आहे, असं नाही. Our delta was how much time you are supposed to keep that molten aluminum inside the mold. That was our delta. We have to fix that delta. And what was the epsilon given? That ring dimension should be 600 plus minus something inside diameter and outside diameter 600. That was the epsilon given to us. Do you understand this? And this is required to be done in each and every step that you follow in engineering industry, in automobile industry. The automobile industry is, see, making a vehicle, making a car is assembly of say some 50,000 parts. It is an assembly of 50,000 parts which will create a car, and eventually that car runs. If any one of the part is not following the epsilon, any one of the part is not following the tolerance, then the final car. Understand this. So it is going to be a series of process. Epsilon of process 1 will be delta of process 2 if there is a composition of function, one after the other. This is real life application of calculus. It is there in and around us. लक्षात घ्या. त्यामुळे study of this, mathematical study of this has to be started somewhere, and therefore we are going to learn one variable calculus. In our case, there are no two also, only one. Y is function of x, finished. There is no other parameter. Z is not operating, W is not operating, everybody else is constant. That is what we will study, because it is the most difficult thing to study. Study of one variable calculus is the most difficult. So we will study it very systematically. Making it 2 variable, 3 variable is going to be easy.
Sir.
अरे मला रेकॉर्डिंग सुरू करा म्हणून कोण आठवण करणार? काय तुम्ही चालू आहे ना? हां चालू आहे शाबास.
सर
येस बोला.
सर मल्टीव्हेरिएबल कॅल्क्युलस मध्ये फक्त डिफरंट युनिट्स असतात ना, डेल्टा आणि एप्सिलॉन. वन व्हेरिएबल कॅल्क्युलस मध्ये सेम असतं म्हणजे.
परत एकदा बोल.
सर वन व्हेरिएबल कॅल्क्युलस मध्ये एप्सिलॉन आणि डेल्टाचे युनिट सेम असायला लागणार ना?
नाही, आता मी जे एक्झाम्पल दाखवलं ते वन व्हेरिएबलच दाखवलं तुला. Dimensions of the ring were controlled by controlling the time. So variable was time and not any other parameter. We have kept all other parameters fixed. So it is not necessary that the unit of measure of the epsilon and delta should be same. It is not necessary. However, these are real life practical applications. Nobody is going to discuss this in any class of calculus anywhere. But I am just trying to give you why do we want to study this and where should we start. This is the starting point. We should study differential calculus, that too of only one variable. One variable, change in one variable affects the dependent variable. Change in independent variable affects the dependent variable, and that is the study that we wish to do. Single variable calculus, one variable calculus. Okay, so therefore it is y is equal to f of x. I mean, in the end we will deal with y, z is equal to f of x comma y, but that we will deal at that time, and it is, they are going to be special cases for some specific applications, and it is going to be easy at that time. So we have to focus ourselves on one variable calculus, and that is where we start our work. Okay, so now your domain is X. Domain is X, and as far as possible, domain is real numbers. We are not going to discuss the variable, independent variable being in complex. No, out of our scope. IIT advanced syllabus is real analysis, not complex analysis. Analysis of real numbers. So your X, which you are considering for the function Y, is a real number, either a complete set of real numbers or some subset of real numbers, etc. So whenever we say X is my independent variable, we mean that it is a real number and it is part of some domain, maybe interval as a domain or entire R, or from 0 positive real numbers or for negative, whatever, that will be specified. Okay, so basically what we discussed yesterday was we have to have a facility of going near the specific value. Okay, so let us begin with the same whiteboard. We said our x-axis is like this, and there is a point here which is C. C belongs to R. Okay, and now I am not actually interested in C because C is a bad point. Suppose it is a bad point, x is equal to 2. C is a bad point like x is equal to 2 in yesterday's example. Which example? X square by 4, x square by x square minus 2. In this example, who is a bad number? 2 is a bad number in this because it makes denominator 0 and numerator is also 0. So we are basically interested in those kind of C's. If C is a well behaved, then I mean our answers are going to be very easy. Okay. Again, what we are doing is we are developing the notation, definitions, and the theory for these bad points who are making these functions indeterminate. However, those points are good points, they are not making the functions indeterminate, then with the new theory, results will be achieved. Like we develop theory of complex numbers, but suppose a real number is to be considered as a complex number, that real number, even if it is considered as complex number, will behave like old real number only. In complex number, if we end up finding out square root of 25, 5 and minus 5, which was the case in real numbers also. Similarly, if we develop new notation and theory for these bad points like C, if C is not bad, then the old theory will work along with the new definitions that we create. That is the beauty of the design of this entire notation. So C is a real number and we are just C, one dimensional calculus we are learning. Therefore, we are not supposed to move around in the plane. We are not supposed to move around in the plane. What we are supposed to do is we are supposed to move on this line this way or this way. That's all what we are doing at the moment. If we are discussing two variable calculus, then it is going to be something like this. X is an independent variable, Y is an independent variable, and what happens when function operates on X, and then it is going to be a three-dimensional picture. Understand? So this is not there right now in our scope of supply. Therefore, if I say C, then C will move towards right or towards left on a real number line. Nowhere else it can go. Okay. So at C, suppose the function is undefined, but I am not interested in finding out the value of the function at C. I am interested in finding out the value of the function near C. Near C. So I have to define nearness because near is not mathematical word. We understand? So nearness or neighborhood. needs to be defined. Okay, now nearness or neighborhood is going to be a relative process. Suppose if I am in United States of America and on a bus stop, if suppose I happen to see a person looking like he belongs to India, he is very near to me because he is an Indian, I am an Indian, and we are meeting each other in United States on some bus stop or something like that. So even if he belongs to say Tamil Nadu or Coimbatore somewhere, I will think that he is the person near to me compared to all other Americans around me at that time. Correct? Yes or no? But if I am in Delhi, waiting for a bus on a bus stop, and if I end up getting somebody from Coimbatore on that bus stop, I will not feel like he is my neighbor. But suppose suddenly some person comes near me and starts talking in Marathi. He is from Maharashtra. Doesn't matter whether he is from Nagpur or Buldana or Kolhapur, somewhere, I mean 200 kilometers, 500 kilometers away from Pune, doesn't matter. If he is the person talking in Marathi in Delhi, at some bus stop in Delhi, I think he is near to me because he is Maharashtrian. If I am in Mumbai and if somebody started talking near me about Sadashivpet, Chitale in Pune, etc. Array, good. Doesn't matter whether he is staying in Kothurud or in Bibwewadi or NIBM. In Mumbai, he is my neighborhood person. He is belonging to Pune. Yes. अरे हो का नाही. मी कोथरूडच्या बस स्टॉप मध्ये कुठेतरी उभा आहे आणि मला कर्वेनगरवाला भेटला कोणतरी म्हणलं अरे वा जवळच आहेस कुठचा तरी तो कोंढवा आणि विमाननगर पेक्षा तू बरा तू माझा नेबर कर्वेनगरवालाच आहेस हो का नाही. मग कोथरूड मध्ये मला समजा रामबाग कॉलनीत मी राहतो तर मला इथला कुठं शिवतीर्थनगरवाला कोणतरी भेटला अरे वा पौड रोडच्या दोघे एकाच बाजूला आपण बरे तिकडे कुठेतरी त्या राजाराम पुला जवळचा कोथरूडवाल्यापेक्षा तू बरा जवळचा आहेस. सो इट इज अ डायनॅमिक सिच्युएशन. लक्षात घेते का तुमच्या नेबर और नियरनेस. अरे मी ईशाचं काय किती वेळा आतमध्ये घ्यायचं. Neighborhood or nearness is going to be a process, and therefore if I want to say that I here I have C here and I want to say that X is in the neighborhood of C. Suppose I want to say this. Then what is important? Can you tell me what is important? With the example that I have given you just now, can you tell me mathematically if I want to say that x is any general value of x on x-axis is in the C, what will be important? I mean the distance is going to be important. What distance are you talking about? Yes or no? अरे समजते का?
Sir.
So there will be some delta which will be some distance. So okay, we will say x belongs to delta neighborhood of C. I want to say like this: x belongs to delta neighborhood of C. You know, okay, this is easy. x should belong to c minus delta to c plus delta. That is the way we can write mathematically. And given delta greater than 0 and delta belonging to R. आता delta greater than 0 म्हटलं की तो belonging to R assumed आहे. You need not have to specify this. If I give you delta, which is a positive number, then we can say whether you are in delta neighborhood of C or not. X belongs to this. Another way of writing it is C minus delta is less than X is less than C plus delta. Another way of writing it is distance between X minus C is less than delta. All these three things will mean same thing. अरे समझते का? So, I mean, we accept this as a definition of neighborhood. This is definition of neighborhood. Write it down. Definition of
Sir,
yes.
सर ते आपण जे सी एक्स लिहिलंय एक्स बिलॉंग्स टू सी मायनस डेल्टा कॉमा सी प्लस डेल्टा त्याच्यामध्ये आपण सी एक्सक्लूड करायला पाहिजे त्या रेंजमध्ये सी पण
करणार ना आता हळूहळू करणार एकदम नाही करायचं सगळं. आता तो सी पण त्या इंटरवलचा पार्ट आहे. जर आपल्याला नको असेल तर एक्सक्लूड करता येणार आपल्याला, काही इश्यू नाही. तर मागे तुम्हाला मी 8वी एक एक्झाम्पल दिलं असेल ना की तुम्ही इतके स्वतंत्र आहात की तुम्ही वर्गातल्या इतर मुलांबरोबर इतर शाळांमधल्या तुमच्या मित्रांबरोबर तुम्ही क्लास एम प्रकाश इन्स्टिट्यूट मध्ये एकत्र आहे म्हणून बोलत पण नाही. त्यांची नावं पण तुम्हाला माहिती नाही. मी मागे एकदा एक्झाम्पल्स देऊन तुम्हाला असं पटवून दिलं असेल 8वी 9वीत असताना की अरे काय आहे, तुम्ही एकमेकांशी बोलायला पाहिजे, तुम्हाला माहिती पाहिजे. नाहीतर असं होईल, मी तुम्हाला एक एक्झाम्पल दिलं होतं का, यू आर स्टँडिंग समवेअर इन Nagpur and then suddenly you start discussing with each other. दिलं होतं एक्झाम्पल. तू म्हणशील अरे तू असं हे दिसतोय मराठीत बोलायला लागाल एकमेकांशी. मग तो एक जण दुसऱ्याला विचारेल अरे तू कुठचा, म्हणजे मी महाराष्ट्रातला. अरे मी पण महाराष्ट्रातला. ओ व्हेरी गुड व्हेरी गुड. मग तू कुठचा, मग मी पुण्याचा. अरे मी पण पुण्याचा. व्हेरी गुड व्हेरी गुड. मग तू कुठच्या इन्स्टिट्यूटला होता शिकायला. एम प्रकाश इन्स्टिट्यूटला. अरे वा व्हेरी गुड. मी पण होतो. व्हेरी गुड व्हेरी गुड. कोणत्या बॅचला होता, ऑलिम्पियाड बॅच. अरे मी पण ऑलिम्पियाड बॅचला होतो. कमाल झाली. व्हेरी गुड. कोणत्या बॅचला होतास. हा झालं. अरे म्हणजे मग आपण वर्गात होतो. हो आपण वर्गात होतो ना, काय प्रॉब्लेम नाही. अशी परिस्थिती तुमच्यावर येऊ नये म्हणून एकमेकांचे चेहरे बघायला पाहिजे, बोलायला पाहिजे, एकमेकांची मदत करायला पाहिजे वगैरे वगैरे. एनिवे हे ऑलरेडी मी तुम्हाला पूर्वी सांगून झालेलं आहे. दॅट हॅज समथिंग टू डू विथ द नेबरहुड. नेबरहुड मीन्स नाव वी आर सर्चिंग. मी अगोदर दिलेल्या एक्झाम्पल मध्ये टू डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन्स तरी होते. दे वेर डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन. बट सपोज बोथ ऑफ यू आर from the same institute, I mean there is no difference, there is no distance. Delta is equal to 0 and you are definitely in the neighborhood of each other. Namaste ka. Okay, so that is what is our formal definition of neighborhood. Any one of the representation that we do should be fine with you. You should understand what we are talking about. This is a English version of neighborhood. I mean X is in the neighborhood of C. We will say X is in the delta neighborhood of C, where delta is a positive number and distance is specified. Okay. Now here, why am I using this delta here when we have assigned delta for our list count? Because I am dealing with X. If I was dealing with Y, which is a value of the function, then epsilon neighborhood of Y. Y belongs to epsilon neighborhood of f of c. Y belongs to, आता belongs to आणि epsilon हे दोघे सेमच आहे. epsilon neighborhood f of c, y belongs to epsilon neighborhood of f of c म्हणजे काय, y belongs to f of c minus epsilon f of c plus epsilon. That also means f of c minus epsilon is less than y is less than f of c plus epsilon. That also means absolute value of y minus f of c is less than epsilon. This is very good, very good. अरे समझते ना? At any point if you think that you have stopped understanding this thing, you should ask, because you are not going to get second chance to get into all these details. You will be busy solving problems and suddenly there will be a conceptual problem where you are required to use all this and then you are blank. That should not happen. Okay, so you have to keep watching. First of all, pay proper attention. You should understand it in the first place. But still, suppose you don't understand, you should immediately ask. Okay. So now example. Suppose I want to say that, okay, then now how will I write? I mean, instead of writing this every time like this or like this. Now this is not that popular. This is not that popular because we are dealing with x. This is the one which we have to keep writing every now and then. Okay, so hello. So x belongs to delta neighborhood of C. In the maths, we write it like this. This means any one of these three. This is the notation. Every time this such a long word neighborhood, there is no point in writing it. You just, if you read this, it means it should be read like this: x belongs to delta neighborhood of C. Okay, so suppose now x belongs to 3,7. Can you write it in terms of x belonging to delta neighborhood of C in this fashion? This is equivalent of saying, bola, x belongs to neighborhood delta कितनी 2 neighborhood of 5. अरे गप्प का तुम्ही कळतंय का? Simple. X belongs to 2 neighborhood of 5. That means x belongs to 3,7. So good. Okay. Now, how many type of intervals that we have? We have totally how many intervals? Type of interval, because this is interval, na? Open. Total 9 intervals. एकदा परत एकदा रिवाइज पूर्वी केलेले. Intervals that we have, 9 intervals. A comma B first, A comma B second, A comma B third, A comma B fourth, A comma plus infinity, A a comma plus infinity 6 minus infinity comma a minus infinity comma a 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and what is 9 minus infinity comma plus infinity. These are the 9 intervals. We might have to use any one of them at any time. So if I have x belonging to a comma b, can you write in the notation of neighborhood? How will you write in this notation? In this notation, x belongs to open interval a comma b. How will you write?
तर लिहून दाखवू का?
नको नको एकदम सोपं आहे दाखवायचं नाही. ओके कसं येणार ते x belongs to neighborhood the distance a किती येणार distance b minus a by 2 this is your delta and what is the middle point काय तो
तर a plus b by 2.
a plus b by 2.
okay so this is the meaning of that. Very good. Now majority of the times what we will be doing is if it is a very good c on x-axis and is surrounded by delta, I mean this distance is delta, so this is c minus delta and this is c plus delta, and you are considering all values of x between c minus delta and c plus delta. But suppose it is a bad point, c is a bad point, and we are supposed to study the property of y not at c but near c. Okay, so it is going to be a hollow circle, and from the set you have to remove this c because c is not there in the domain. If c is not there in the domain, how can you consider x belongs to a comma b when the middle point a plus b by 2 is in the domain? And therefore we have to create a new notation that x belongs to deleted delta neighborhood of c. X belongs to deleted delta. X belongs to deleted delta neighborhood of C. That is how it is written. So what would be the meaning of that? The meaning is simple. Whatever this set minus x belongs to c minus delta comma c plus delta minus c, either this way or x belongs to c minus delta to c open union c to c plus delta. You are ensuring that c is not there in the domain, and that is what is deleted delta neighborhood of c. Many of the times we will be using this because we are not interested in what is happening at c. C is not there in the domain many of the times. If c is in the domain, then fine. I mean, it is a good function. Actually, it is a function where maybe calculus is not required. Okay, and therefore, instead of delta neighborhood of c, what we will be learning more or using more is deleted delta neighborhood of c, and the meaning is like this: you just pick up that c and throw out of the consideration, throw out of the interval that is under consideration. So this is deleted delta neighborhood of C. Okay, and therefore we are creating a situation that we wish to go near C. We want to go near C and observe the function. Now, but suppose there is nobody near C. Suppose there is nobody near C and you want to go near C, then we should be able to distinguish whether C is surrounded by many points or not in the domain, or he is alone. There is only one point in the domain. If there is only one point in the domain and the value of the function at that point is defined, what are you going to do? You cannot go near C, there is nobody near C. So if we want to define the limit, in the limiting case, if I go near C from left, if I want to go near C from right, then I have to assume, or I have to be clear about whether C is surrounded by many points or not. Samajhte ka? And therefore, in maths, the new term that we are going to introduce is C is a cluster point. C is a cluster point. That means C is surrounded by many points, by infinitely many points. That is what is the meaning that we have in our mind. If you want to go near C, yes, it is possible. It is surrounded by many points. You can go very near, whatever near you want, depending upon what delta you choose. If I choose this delta, I will go this much near. If I choose this delta, I will go this much near. If I choose this delta, yes, there are points available. If you take smaller delta, yes, there are points available. And how many? Infinitely many. So denseness of the real number line is going to come in play here. However, not necessary that every interval that we choose, that every point in that interval is a cluster point. Not necessary. Suppose I choose an interval I such that it is union of 2, comma 3, all points between 2 and 3, union 4, union 5, comma 6. Suppose this is my interval and I want to say, is 4 a cluster point? No, of course no, because 3 and 5 geometrically 2 is not there in the domain, 3 is not there in the domain, all points in between are in the domain, 4 is there in the domain and 5 is not there in the domain, 6 is not there in the domain, but all the points are there. This is the geometric representation of this interval. And now I want to say, is 4, C is equal to 4. C is equal to 4. Is C a cluster point? My answer will be, of course not. C cannot be a cluster point. It is isolated. There is nobody around him in this gap. So, are you understanding the physical significance or geometrical significance of this word cluster point? Now we have to get into mathematics to define what do we mean by cluster point. Okay, so now it is time for me to give you sufficient time to come out with correct definition of a cluster point. I want to say C is said to be a cluster point of some interval A. Okay, so I give you 4-5 minutes. Think about it, write down your own definition, make mistakes, then we will together write down the correct definition of cluster point and the definition of limit. So I'm pausing the video now. Okay. So now let me discuss with you what do we mean by cluster point. Suppose it is as simple as that. If I try to go near C, I should have as many points I want as available. So geometrically, I have explained you earlier. Maybe I will do it again. Suppose I am on x-axis and I am at C. C itself is hollow, but I can go like, can I go as near as I want near this 3 from 2? Yes, I can go as near as I want. Can I go 0.5 near 3? Yes. Start from 2.5, you will be 0.5 near 3. Can I go 0.1 near 3? Yes. Start from 2.9, you will be 0.1 near 3. Can I go 0.01 near 3? Yes, you can go. Can I go 0.001 near 3? Yes. Will there be infinitely many points between that? So will there be infinitely many points in this interval? Yes. Will there be infinitely many points in this interval? Yes. Will there be infinitely many points in this interval? Yes. Delta 1, delta 2, delta 3, delta. Will there be infinitely many points for every delta? Yes. So that for everyness of delta is important. Existence. See, this particular example which I have given, if you choose delta is equal to 2. If you choose delta is equal to 2, that means you are bracketing from here to here. And of course, C has got infinitely many points. 4 has got infinitely many points in this delta is equal to 2. But is C cluster point here? No. C is not cluster point here. Because you found out infinitely many points here by choosing appropriate delta. For delta is equal to 2, you are right. But will you be right for delta is equal to 1? Will you be right for delta is equal to 0.5? No. There will be infinitely many deltas for which you are not going to be right. Now, if I want C to be cluster point, does not matter what the delta is. I must get infinitely many x values near C. That is what we want to capture. That is what we want to capture. And that is where those connectives are important. There exists, that means minimum 1. For every, that means not a single one is to be excluded. Everybody. Okay. Okay. Now you will be able to get it. Still not complete the shlok. Let me write down now.
Sir, सर माझ्या डेफिनेशन मध्ये मी लिहिलंय की इफ डोमेन इंटरसेक्शन एन डेल्टा सी मायनस सी शुड बी इक्वल टू एन डेल्टा सी मायनस सी. म्हणजे आता जर का आपण कुठलेही घेऊ म्हणजे इफ डेल्टा बिलॉंग्स टू रिअल नंबर, आता आपण फॉर एक्झाम्पल एक सी घेतला आणि कुठलेही डेल्टा घेतलं, तर आता जर का त्यांचं इंटरसेक्शन फुल सेट असणार तर ते बरोबर असणार. म्हणजे इफ द इंटरसेक्शन इक्वल टू ऑल द पॉइंट्स विच यू आर कन्सिडरिंग, की जे आपल्या ह्याच्यात आहे नेबरहुड मध्ये, तर ते बरोबर असणार. सो जे केस तुम्ही डिस्कस करत होते ते येणारच नाही.
Okay, but then see, you might have represented it in a little different way, but we have to write down definition in such a way that it has to be, first of all, very simple to understand, and it should make the meaning very crisp. I mean, whatever you want to define is being captured properly. Okay, so you have done very good efforts, but final definition, let me write down. Definition of cluster point. Now we have to follow some rules of this game. Everything need to be defined properly. Therefore, let A be subset of R. I am talking about some set A whose cluster point I want to define. So it has to be a subset of real numbers. That means we are in real analysis. We are dealing with real numbers. Let C belong to R. That means C is a real number about which we are talking. C is said to be, I should not write it quickly. C is said to be cluster point of A. A is what? It is a subset of R. C is said to be cluster point of A. It is a definition. Therefore, it has to be if and only if for every delta greater than 0, deleted delta neighborhood of C, deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A. Nayan, you were talking about this intersection. Intersection A is not empty. Everything is captured or not. You have to cross check. Let A be the subset of R. Let C belong to R. C is said to be cluster point of A if and only if for every delta greater than 0, deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A is not empty. Maybe I will pause the video, allow you to think, check, find out mistakes in this definition also. Okay. Now the question is, suppose I am considering A, consider A as 2, 3 open interval is 3 cluster point. Bola, is 3 cluster point of this A? Yes. Because it follows this definition. You tell me what delta you want to choose, and of course there are elements near 3 in that delta neighborhood. 3 is not a part of A, but 3 is a cluster point of A. So here in the definition also, we are saying A is a subset of R. We are saying C is to R, but we are not saying C is belonging to A. We are not saying this. This is important to be noted. We are not saying C belongs to A. We are not interested in C. That is the approach. We are not interested in what is happening at C. We are interested in knowing what is happening around C. In calculus, we will be more interested in knowing what is happening around C and not at C. Okay, sometimes we will find out what happens at C also. But then at that time, we will check whether C belongs to the domain or not. But for checking what happens around C, we don't want C to be part of the domain. Even if it is not, it is fine. So 2, 3, if our interval is 2, 3, open interval, C is a cluster point. Now, if B is the interval which is 2, closed interval 3 is 3 cluster point, is 3 cluster point in this case. Suppose I close it now, I make 3 part of the domain, part of the set under consideration. Yes, no problem. अरे हो का नहीं, deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A is not empty, not empty. There are few members present there. And why intersection A? Because we want to say that it is a cluster point of A. Therefore, this intersection A. Because it might be surrounded by many X values, but if they are not part of A, then we cannot, it is useless for us. If C is surrounded by many x values, but those x values are not a part of the domain under consideration, then it is of no use. I mean, we want it to be cluster point of subset A, because the function will be eventually defined on A. So we want to know about more about A, and therefore this intersection. Okay, any other question?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, for set A, will 4 be a cluster point?
For set A, 2 comma 3 you mean? Okay, let me write down the question. For set say C, for set A, which is 2 comma 3 is 4 cluster point. Yes, tell me what is your answer? What is your answer? Okay, what is the answer? Can others say some answer? Shlok is saying no.
Sir, no.
Is 4 cluster point of 3 open interval is 4 a cluster point? Shardul is saying no. What is to be tested is definition. Now, if we agree that definition of cluster point is correct, we need to put any question to the definition. If it satisfies definition, then yes. If it doesn't satisfy the definition, then no. So, is it satisfying the definition? Is 4 cluster point for interval 2, 3 open? Even if you can find out one delta where the intersection deleted delta neighborhood of 4 is empty, it does not satisfy the definition. Arey ho ka nahi? If there exists one delta, so can you find out a delta for which the definition fails to exist? Yes. Delta is a real number and it is greater than 0. Suppose you take a 0.5, delta as a 0.5, then 4 is not surrounded by values of A, you will get empty set because it is the intersection with A, because A is not reaching 4. Therefore, if R delta is equal to 0.5, you will end up getting the empty set equal to empty, and it will not satisfy the definition of cluster point, and hence 4 will not be cluster point of A. Is 4 cluster point? That is not correct question. Is 4 cluster point of A? Answer is no, because you could produce empty set by taking suitable delta. Okay, very good question. Any other questions?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, while defining the cluster point, we could also consider only neighborhood and not the deleted neighborhood of C.
Only neighborhood of C and not the deleted neighborhood of C. Then in that case, C himself will be present if we are not considering deleted neighborhood, and
Yes.
then you will not get empty set because of C. बघ लक्षात येते का? C च्या स्वतःच्या प्रेझेन्स मुळे even if it is not a cluster point, you will not get this emptiness because of C, because C will be present there.
Yes, sir.
Therefore, this deleted is important. We don't want this non-emptiness because of C. We don't want it because of C. We want it because of some other people surrounding C. This non-emptiness that we are defining here should be from the points other than C, and therefore this deleted data is important. Otherwise that C will be always present. If it is not deleted delta neighborhood of C, then C will be always present there and it will disturb the emptiness of this definition. And therefore it has to be deleted delta neighborhood of C. You are removing, and that is what the study is all about. You are not, that is what I am saying, that you are not interested in knowing what happens at C. Because last 15 years you have been studying what happens at C. Now you are supposed to study what happens near C. That is what is calculus all about. Okay, let us move. Okay, so now I am going to explain the situation and then we will formulate the definition. The situation is, I don't know why I am not getting good colors. I have black, I have red, I have blue, I have green, I have violet. Blue I have white. Maybe I will use this. This will also be okay. So now the situation is we are walking on x-axis. There is a point C here. And maybe let me take the same old example which we have discussed earlier. We are walking on y to find out values of the function on x. Okay. So as you walk around on a real number line x and c is not there, so you will not get the value of c, that is okay. And say our f of x is equal to x square minus 4 upon x plus 2. Sorry, x minus 2. Then we said this is 2. Let me make it. Hello, and then at 2 I am supposed to be 4, and this is 2, so it is a straight line. And we don't have a point here. Value of the function is at the C is again empty because we don't have value. Right? This is the situation. Okay. And now we have to, our final aim is to create definition of limit. And we are taking this example to create it. What we want to capture is, if I go near C, what I want to capture is, if I go near C, I go near f of C. We know this is going to be 4 actually. This is 4. This is 2 in this example. So I will say that limit as x tends to C, f of x is equal to some limit L. In our example, limit x square minus 4 upon x minus 2 as x tends to 2 is equal to 4. I would like to write down this. What do I mean by this? If I wish to go near 2, that is x tends to 2, then the values of the function x square minus 4 upon x minus 2 tend to 4. That is what I want to capture. And therefore, I should put it in the form of definition in such a way that there are no questions. There is no ambiguity. There are no unnecessary terms in that definition. All the required notation is already being created. All the required notation is already available. So using this required notation, mathematically, can we write down the definition of limit? With example, I am telling you what do I mean by limit. As x tends to 2, x square minus 4
Sir, your voice is lagging.
is equal to L. Sorry. हाँ बोलो हर्षिता.
So your voice was lagging. So now it's fine.
Okay. So in general, what am I write? What I want to write is limit as x tends to c f of x is equal to a real number L. This is what I want to write. So I give you 10 minutes to formulate your own definition. Okay, and then we step by step we will try to write down the definition of limit. That is going to be the most important definition in the differential calculus. Okay, let us write down the definition of limit. Let A be subset of R. Let F be defined from A to R. Let C belong to R. Let C be a cluster point of A. Let L belong to R. We say that limit as x tends to c f of x is equal to L if and only if for every epsilon greater than 0 there exists delta greater than 0 such that for every x belonging to deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A, we have absolute value of f of x minus L less than epsilon. Check whether you understand this. This is the definition of limit. Okay. Ask me questions if you have not understood any part of that definition. What is A? A is subset of R. How is function? Function is defined from A to R. What is C? C is a real number. Is C a cluster point? Yes, C be a cluster point of A. What is the value of the function going to be eventually? L. Is it a real number? Yes, L is a real number. Okay, we say that limit x tends to C f of x is equal to L is equal to L. It's not tending to L or nothing we are saying it is equal to L. If and only if, definitions are always if and only if. You give me epsilon, for every epsilon means you give me tolerance. I will find out the error. I will be able to have a machine with list count such that there exists data. There exists a machine with proper data, with proper list count, such that if I do something, if I do that function on x, for any x between c minus delta to c plus delta, not including c, and all the values of x belonging to A, if I operate that function on those values of x, I am sure I will stay within the epsilon neighborhood of L. This is epsilon neighborhood of L. L is the desired value of the function. Okay, so f of x minus L is less than epsilon. That means I will stay in the epsilon neighborhood of L. There, so for every epsilon, you give me epsilon, I calculate delta. You give me epsilon, for any epsilon in that you give, I will have a delta, corresponding delta. Such that if I choose any value of x in the delta neighborhood of C intersection A, I stay within the epsilon neighborhood of N. That is what is this definition all about. At that time, we will say limit f of x as x tends to C is equal to L. And if this does not happen, then we are not supposed to say this. Okay, so immediately we are supposed to write down the definition of limit x tends to say f of x is not equal to L. Both we must be very clear about. Okay, so now what we are going to say is next definition is going to be of limit as f of x tends to C f of x not equal to L. So I will write that much part on the board, and then what is to be written before that, what is to be written after that, you have to think and tell me. What I want now is limit. What I want now is limit x tends to C f of x is not equal to L. What should be before this? What should be after that? If and only if. Think and tell me. I give you 3-4 minutes. You let me know what changes we need to do in this definition so that we confidently say that limit does not exist. Okay, so if we want to say that limit x tends to C f of x is not equal to L, that means what should happen in our example? What should happen in our example? Suppose we go near C, we should not go near L. If that happens, then we will say no, limit is not existing. That is the intuitive, practical way of looking at it. So here we said you give me epsilon, I will find out delta. Here in this definition, we said you give me epsilon, I will find out delta, such that if I could stay in the delta neighborhood of C, and if I could stay in that, and then if I could bring this difference less than epsilon, then I will say yes, limit exists. So now this is a negation. Negation means not equal to L. So the way you are saying that less than becomes greater than equal to, these connectives also need to be thought of. This was for every epsilon. So the changes will be as follows. If and only if. Of course, prerequisite will be same. This is prerequisite. This part, it will be same. And the changes will be for instead of for every epsilon greater than 0, there will be, even if there is one epsilon, there exists epsilon greater than 0, such that now there exists delta होता त्याच्या जागी येणार for every delta greater than 0, there exists x belonging to deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A. How is this x going to be? It is not well behaved. It will take your function far away than the desired value L. That is how this x is going to be. That is what is the meaning of this statement. There exists at least one x such that we have absolute value of f of x minus L is not in the epsilon limit but is greater than or equal to epsilon. Now, this is not very easy, I would.
सर
Yes.
सर तिथे फॉर एव्हरी एक्स नाही असावं लागणार सर.
Let A be subset of R. काय इथे काय for every x नाही, there exists one x. One is more than sufficient.
हो सर.
Let
सर नाही सर तिथे डेल्टाला फॉर एव्हरी डेल्टा नाही असावं लागणार सर. देअर एक्झिस्ट डेल्टा असलं तरी चालणार ना.
हा
तर
नाही,
एका डेल्टासाठी झालं तरी चालणार ना.
एक एप्सिलॉन असा मिळाला की ज्याच्यामधला कोणताही डेल्टा घेतला तरी हे घडणार आहे. देन लिमिट डज नॉट एक्झिस्ट. नीट विचार करा, घाई करू नका, शांतपणे विचार करा. व्हॉट एव्हर आय एम रायटिंग इज करेक्ट. यू हॅव टू अलाइन युअर थॉट्स अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस डेफिनेशन. एक्झाम्पल दिलं की तुम्हाला कळेल. लेट मी गिव्ह यू एन एक्झाम्पल. ओके, नाउ द फंक्शन इज लाइक दिस. Y is equal to 1 upon x, and we are supposed to check what happens near 0. As we know, this is rectangular hyperbola and the graph is like this. This is 0. So now we wish to write limit as x tends to 0, 1 upon x is not equal to, suppose we wanted L to be say 10, is not equal to 10. Limit does not exist in this case, because if you want to remain in the neighborhood of 10, say you give some epsilon, 1 epsilon is equal to 1, say for example. So your value of the function you want to keep between 9 to 11, value of the function. Okay, so now if there exists epsilon, so I give you epsilon is equal to 1. Then can you find out delta? Can you find out delta here, value of delta, such that even if you choose any x in that delta neighborhood, forget about left hand side, say 0 to delta. In that delta neighborhood, if you choose any x, your f of x minus L is going to be greater than 1. Can we find out that delta? Of course, yes. Whatever is this 11 value, y is equal to 11. Y is equal to 11. Okay. So x is equal to 1 upon 11. Numerically, if delta is equal to 1 upon 11 if I choose, and if I choose, for there exists x, if I choose x in that interval for every delta greater than 0, there exists epsilon such that for every delta greater than 0, and this delta, instead of 1 upon 11, if I choose 1 upon 100, I am still inside. If I choose 1 upon 1000, I am still inside. So for every delta greater than 0, there exists x such that this inequality is satisfied. I mean, I am trying to break it in parts and trying to show you. Think about it. This is what is the definition of limit does not exist. This is what is the example. Now I could have always made this example like y is equal to absolute value of x, and in that case the graph is going to be like this. and not this. Okay, so near 0 we can always observe what happens. To the left of 0 we can observe, to the right of 0 we can observe, and it is going to be the same thing, because this is going to take the limit to actually infinity. This limit is going to be infinite, and it is not the finite number L. L belongs to R, so it is L is a finite number. Therefore, in this case, in this example, limit does not exist. Eventually, we will write the definition for limit f of x as x tends to c is equal to infinity. But infinity is not a real number. Therefore, at the moment, this example is good enough for you to visualize the definition of limit does not exist. सांगा मला काय question असेल तर. Okay, the question is why for every delta in the limit is not equal to L. Why is every delta here? Okay, so as I have given you the example of epsilon is equal to 1 here. If epsilon is equal to 1, then you want your L value to be between 9 to 11, because let us say L is equal to 10, right? So I mean, we will learn how to find out that delta. We will do those calculations by taking different examples later on. But at the moment, because my function is y is equal to absolute value of 1 upon x, I can find out what is the largest value that I am supposed to achieve, 11. So 11, if I want value of y to be 11, then at what value of x it will be 11? 1 upon 11 or opposite of 1 upon 11. Now I have made it symmetric with respect to y-axis. So x is equal to minus 1 upon 11 or plus 1 upon 11 is a boundary value of x. Okay. Now our cluster point C is 0, right? Otherwise it is C plus delta and C minus delta. But because C is 0, we are talking about minus delta and plus delta. Because C is 0 here, C is equal to 0. We are talking about minus delta to plus delta without C in between. Okay. So now if there exists an epsilon, so epsilon is given, presently the given epsilon is 1. Then you calculate delta and then you choose any delta for every delta greater than 0. For every delta greater than 0. Now, if you happen to choose delta less than 1 upon 11, of course this is going to be true. But even if you choose delta, suppose like this, bigger one, for every delta, you choose any delta, doesn't matter. There exists x. There exists at least one x. So if you choose bigger delta, still those inner x's are available in that delta. If you happen to choose delta is equal to 1 upon 11, then of course all the x inside are like that. And therefore, for every delta is important. For every delta it is important. If you want to say that a specific delta and any delta less than that, you will, no matter what you take, x will be available which will not give you that limit L, then that delta value will be 1 upon 11 in this case. But does not matter. We need not have to calculate also. If you have been given epsilon, you choose delta, and in that delta there will be x culprits available, which will take your function far away from epsilon. They will be always available. In that case, you have to say that limit does not exist. And if they are not available, for every epsilon, if these guys are not available, then we say that limit exists. So it is a negation. And therefore for every delta is important, because see, in logic, end of 12th standard, we will see one more topic called logic, and there is a specific negation in that. For every and there exists are negations, actually negations, negative connectives of each other. When I say for every, I am not missing any one of them. When I say there exists, means there I am saying that at least there is one. The way it is different in union and intersection. Union and intersection definitions will involve these connectives for every n at least one. Exactly same way here. I mean, it is not, see, it is not to be understood in half an hour or 1 hour by saying something. It has to be thought and thought and thought for a long time and then digest. So you will come to know the meaning of all those mathematical terms. It is not that Newton has sat one day and written this definition for limit. No. I mean, see, the way Euclid has organized the geometry, somebody must have organized this once again after development of calculus, and a formal definition of limit came into the picture. It is not that the first attempt somebody is writing this definition. It is extremely difficult. But because we are learning it now, we have to learn it fast. Therefore, in the second lecture itself, we have got this particular definition in place. These definitions are very, very important. You need to, whenever you find time, you keep thinking about them and understand and digest them. Okay, so let me write down the first theorem of calculus, and it has something to do with cluster point. So maybe we will not write the proof today, we will write it tomorrow, but let me write down the theorem. So theorem. Let A be subset of R. Let C belong to R. Let C be, काय प्रत्येक वेळेला of A. Then for every delta greater than 0, deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A has infinite many points. Do you understand the meaning of this? If you say C is a cluster point, then for every delta greater than 0, there are infinitely many points in the delta neighborhood, deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A. कधी ऐसा होना नहीं कि C is not surrounded by the points. C is surrounded by infinitely many points. Not one, not two, but infinitely many. I give you 5-7 minutes for creating a proof of this. It is not very difficult. Okay, the only way to prove this particular theorem is by contradiction method. If you assume that there are finitely many, then you contradict with your definition of cluster point, because that is the only condition which is given to you. C is a cluster point of A. So if you want to prove that there are infinitely many points, you assume them to be finitely many and show that it contradicts with the definition of cluster point. Definition of cluster point says for every delta greater than 0, deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A is not empty. That is what is the definition of cluster point. So you show that it contradicts the definition. That is how the proof of this theorem will go. Okay, let us write down the proof. Now, see, proofs, we will be writing many proofs in this differential calculus. It is basically you are supposed to visualize. Converting the picture into the proof is important. Here we have to visualize what is happening. So the geometric interpretation of this particular theorem is like you have a line, real number line, you can say you have point C here, and you want to show that no matter what delta you choose, there are infinitely many points here. So if you choose delta is equal to suppose this point, suppose this point is A1, then in this distance from C to A1, there are infinitely many points. Suppose you choose A2 here, then there are infinitely many points. A3 here, something like this. If you keep choosing the points near C, you will never have a situation where there are no points in the neighborhood of C. Okay, that is what is the whole idea. So how are we going to convert this picture into the proof? So let us write, if possible. If possible, there exists delta greater than 0 such that for every x, if possible, there exists delta greater than 0 such that the deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A has finitely many points. Say A1, A2, A. N is a finite number. Is equal to, okay, these many points. Now let delta 1 is equal to absolute value of C minus A1, that is the distance you are considering. Let delta 2 is equal to C minus A2 dot comma delta n is equal to C minus A. So you have considered all possible distances of those points from C, and there are finitely many. So these are finitely many distances, delta 1, delta 2, delta 3, delta n. Okay. Let delta is equal to half minimum of delta 1, delta 2, delta. Suppose you choose your final delta as half the distance of the minimum amongst them. That is our new delta. Okay, and then what will happen for this delta? Deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A is going to be equal to phi empty, because all finitely many points you have taken, you have computed the distances with respect to C, and you called all those distances as delta 1, delta 2, delta 3. So finitely many delta i's are available here. They are n in number. You put them in a box, arrange them in order, take the smallest one, that is minimum of these numbers, take half of that, that is what is our delta. So if they are finitely many, then you will end up getting delta such that deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A is bound to be empty. Contradiction to definition of cluster point. Therefore, hence we end up getting the proof that deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A has infinitely many points. Therefore, this statement is, this implies deleted delta neighborhood of C intersection A has infinite many parts. Okay, that is what is the first theorem of calculus. Hope you have understood. Go through the definitions, go through this theorem, go through the idea of cluster point. Now, next lecture, what we will begin doing is establishing algebra of limits. What happens when summation takes place? What happens to the limit? What happens when multiplication takes place? What happens to the limits, multiplication of two functions, etc. Okay. If you happen to have any doubt on the discussion that we have carried out today, you have to ask me immediately in the next lecture. And another thing that you are supposed to do is digest the definition of limit. We will have in first 15 minutes, we will have to keep reiterating the definition of limit so that it is understood and remembered by you forever. Any other question that you have now?
सर तुम्ही हे व्हाईट बोर्डचं सेंड करणार आहे अजून
आता तुम्ही त्याच्यावर अवलंबून राहू नका. I don't want you guys to be lazy about it. I am recording it for my personal reference. That does not mean that every time the lecture will be available on internet. It takes huge data.
नाही सर फक्त व्हाईट बोर्डवर लिहिलेलं आहे.
व्हाईट बोर्ड जे ते मी शेअर करू शकतो, काही प्रॉब्लेम नाही. पण ते सुद्धा तुम्ही ऑन द स्पॉट तुमच्या नोटबुक मध्ये लिहून घ्यायला पाहिजे आणि तुमची नोटबुक कम्प्लीट पाहिजे. कारण व्हाईट बोर्ड इज नॉट नीटली रिटन. तुम्ही त्याचे फोटो काढून जर तुम्ही फाईल बनवत असाल तर दॅट इज नॉट गुड आयडिया. युअर नोटबुक व्यवस्थित बाउंड केलेली नोटबुक मेंटेन करणं स्वतःच्या हँडरायटिंग मधलं इम्पॉर्टंट आहे. मी व्हाईट बोर्डचे फोटो पाठवतोय म्हणून तुम्ही लिहायचे बंद झाला तर ते चालणार नाही. इज इट क्लिअर?
Can you show it for a minute?
You want to see the
Whiteboard. Yes, sir.
Okay, I am done with the lecture. Those who want to leave, you can leave.
Sir,
Yes. Recording is on. 1 minute.